So welcome to Transform Gov, the digital government podcast, and I'm your host, Maeve Neefsey. So Transform Gov is part of the Ireland eGovernment Awards and is proudly brought to you in association with Accenture. Together we explore how digital innovation is transforming the public sector and shaping the future of public services. So today I'm really thrilled because we're going to be joined by two incredible guests who are working together on groundbreaking solutions in the area of healthcare and in particular in pain management. They're also the finalists in the AI category of the Ireland eGovernment Awards, and their work has the potential, it really does have the potential to help thousands of people suffering from chronic mental health or physical pain, with even more applications on the horizon. So first we have Anna Marie Kiernan, a registered advanced nurse practitioner in pain management from Croom Orthopaedic Hospital, and she's joined by Niall O'Driscoll, joint CEO of ShineVR, a company that uses personalised virtual reality to help people living with chronic pain. So ShineVR may sound a little familiar to you because they were in fact featured on RT's Big Life Fix, where they were helping people whose health or environment were limiting them. So Anne-Marie, I'm going to start off with you. So just tell me a bit about your background and how you ended up working in the area that you're in, particularly pain management.
Thanks very much, Maeve. So I worked in a surgical unit in University Hospital Limerick, and really from the get-go I noticed that pain affects every patient that presents. At the moment, about 85% of people actually present to A&E with undiagnosed pain, and for the fortunate people who can find a reason for it, they can be treated and discharged. But unfortunately for those who don't, it can lead to a lifetime of problems. So from that, I actually looked into doing a master's in pain management.
Wow.
Yeah, difficult but very rewarding. And luckily enough, I was able to start working in the pain unit, the pain management service in University Hospital Limerick around 2017. And we were very fortunate in 2021 to actually get a pain management centre in Croom Orthopaedic Hospital. And we have a multidisciplinary team there now working together to try and reduce waiting lists and deliver multidisciplinary care to chronic pain patients. So I'm very fortunate with the team that I have to work with. And during COVID, I decided that I wanted to look at how could we deliver pain management to patients who weren't able to actually access the service directly. And I went and did a postgraduate diploma in healthcare innovation in Trinity. And that's where my love for digital health actually really took off. The spark was well lit by that stage.
Well, look, I mean, in terms of care, do you think there were particular gaps that technology can fill other than the fact that you were trying to deal with patients not being able to get access to service during COVID?
Definitely. And I've seen that with working with ShineVR. We can deliver the proper diagnosis very easily, but it's to give people that outlet, that ability to kind of to disassociate from their current reality, which is what virtual reality can fill. The ability to go to the beach, the ability to actually see nature when they can't leave the house because of the pain symptoms they have, and to be able to reduce pain as a result of this is even better.
Okay, well, look, we'll get into the technology so we can explain to people how it works. But is this the first time that you were bringing in new technologies into healthcare, or had you experienced other things post-Trinity?
Yeah, so I was looking at how could we manage procedural pain. So I deliver a treatment called Catenza, which is a chili pepper-based patch for a condition called localized peripheral neuropathy.
I'm lost now already. Chili, I'm thinking of food.
I know. That's why I'm very slow to actually talk about it. But it's the way of actually deactivating nerves that are very sensitive.
Okay.
But it can be a very uncomfortable procedure. It's an hour-long treatment, and it can result in increased heat to the site and increased pain. So I wanted to see how could I potentially reduce pain. So we had done music therapy, we had done distraction, but nothing was fully resolving the problem.
So it's a short-term pain for a long-term pain
benefit.
Relief.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can get 12 weeks relief from the treatment. So I'm always anxious to try and get people well established on it. So I received funding for an augmented reality headset because I'd seen how virtual reality had worked. And it worked fantastic. It was reducing pain scores by nearly 30%. And that was for any age category. But there was limits to it. Like, it's very expensive and you need to have very good pincer grip to interact with the holograms. So because of that, I wanted to look into what can we deliver potentially for patients that would overcome those barriers, but also would be accessible to all patients.
And how did you come across ShineVR? How did that all happen?
So from innovation, I'm very acutely aware of Trevor Vaugh. So when I was looking at the RT program that the guys were on, as soon as I saw it, I thought, this is the way to potentially overcome what I'm experiencing with the barriers. So I contacted the guys straight away and discussed.
And just explain, because for people who don't know about that whole ecosystem and how you contacted them.
God bless LinkedIn.
You hunted them down.
I stalked them on LinkedIn and I contacted Andrew directly.
Okay.
Because I chair an innovation committee as well that covers the Midwest. And at the time we were doing a pitching event where we were trying to support innovative ideas on the front line and working with Spark Innovation as well.
Okay. And the Spark is an innovation program to help particularly new technologies get into the healthcare system, right?
Yes, any innovative project they will work with directly. So there's numerous innovative opportunities they deliver annually, and it's a great way of getting new ideas onto the floor. So we were working in collaboration with them in order to support some of the ideas of people on the ground who see these issues, and making not only the solution available, but also making people aware of these innovation champions on the ground. And I utilised that opportunity, that event, to bring the guys down, to actually showcase what they were doing, but also to use as an opportunity to talk to them about what my potential view on,
so it was
on what we could do.
Your sneaky was to get them in to talk about what they do, and then you were going to engage with them to solve some problems for you.
Exactly. You're going to nab them then. It worked, Maeve. It worked.
It worked, exactly. And so how did the whole collaboration come to life? What were the steps that you took?
So initially, I just first of all, I discussed what my barriers were. And I was put in contact with Sabina, who works with the guys, and I was able to talk to her about what was working at the moment and what I felt virtual reality could do potentially for our patients. And the biggest thing I wanted was something that was accessible. Because like augmented reality, it costs thousands, and you can't expect a chronic pain patient who's on a disability payment to be able to afford something like that. So that was one big feature.
What's the cost? Sorry, because I don't know. Is it about the headset? Is it about the software that creates the reality? What is it?
It's both, actually.
Okay.
So the headset that I use is €3,500, and 1 year license to the platform I use is 2,000.
Okay.
So that's
not scalable.
No.
No.
So I wanted something that potentially was. So we worked on the potential of having the guys' platform available on a mobile phone and being able to buy a headset that you can mount a mobile phone into to convert it to a virtual reality headset.
Wow, that's really innovative. And what did you think when you first met Anna Marie? What did you think? Did you feel you could solve the problem? Were you already trying to solve the problem?
Well, I mean, we were already looking at the general area, certainly, and did we think we could solve the problem? Well, I suppose that's what we do. You know, our kind of modus operandi is take problems and try and use creativity and technology to try and come up with various solutions. But with Anna Marie, what we saw was a champion. You know, somebody that had already had a belief in the technology, had used the technology, was literate in this area, but also could bring us into the organization and understood, you know, the challenges of working within the organization, understood the patient needs, understood all the things that we don't necessarily have access to or experience of. And it meant that together we were able to bring our experience and what we'd built and work with her to get this into patients' hands and into the organization. So the champions within organizations are essential for us to be able to work with. And ultimately, we're trying to build a kind of a wider ecosystem of partners and patients that are all see the value or potential value of using this technology and want to work together. And then everybody is bringing something different to the table. And ultimately, that's what will bring us a level of success. It's that integration.
It'd be really useful just to talk about what was the solution. What did you create that was helping the patients?
So we had already built ShineVR to reduce stress and increase wellness. So what we did was we would digitize techniques such as diaphragmatic breathing or mindfulness, and we bring all of these into different environments. So there might be environments of nature, or there might be space like beautiful rooms with beautiful views. And within all these different spaces, you can practice these techniques. So this was something we'd already built and had already piloted, and we knew that was effective and had an impact.
And was it just the general public you were piloting with, or
no,
particular?
We piloted them with in companies basically. So we had groups of employees And in particular, in fact, the first kind of group of employees we were working with were content moderators. So these are people who have to look at the stuff that's on the internet and decide it shouldn't go on. So believe it or not, there's stuff that isn't on the internet.
Job ever.
Exactly. And you can imagine the levels of stress and so on and so forth. So we used psychometric measurements and multi-baseline testing to kind of measure the efficacy within these groups over periods of time. So we knew that we had something that was effective from those pilots. Then we were approached by Trevor and Big Life Fix to see if we could build on that platform for Teresa, who had chronic pain. And so we worked with Dr. Rosemary Keane, who's now the Mater, and said, well, if we were to build something specifically for Teresa, what sort of approach should we do? How would we integrate what we already have, and what else should we do? And so within that, we created a new environment because Teresa has a morphine bag, right? Okay. So that means she always feels warm. She feels heat. So we created a cold environment. And then she spoke about her dreams. She spoke about when she did get sleep, because she had fairly poor sleep. When she did sleep, she would dream of levitating, of leaving her body. So we brought these elements together, and then the final element was we created an avatar of her. So we scanned her and put her in, and we spoke to her about her positive memories and dreams, and basically kind of scanned her physical reactions to that and put them on the avatar. So bringing all these things together, it meant that when Teresa put the headset on, she was in a cold environment. She saw herself represented in a very positive light, like kind of looking in a mirror almost, except seeing a positive reaction back. She was then able to choose music that she liked, and then she would begin to levitate. And all of these different elements ultimately kind of, because they're kind of a visuospatial experience, the part of the brain, and I'm no pain expert, but in layman's terms, the part of the brain that would be receiving the pain signals instead was overwhelmed, preoccupied by this immersive experience. And so that's what we ultimately brought down to.
Was the personalization part important? Let's say you hadn't understood what her dreams were about and the heat that she was experiencing. Do you think that makes a difference? Could you have a generic, happy place rather than being specific, personalized?
Yeah. So ultimately, you can go to lots of different spaces anyway, right? So the cold space is one of the spaces. So for you as a patient, you could go and say the cold space is going to work for me, but alternatively, you could go to one of the other areas that we've built. So in ShineVR, you can go to a forest with a river, you can go to a lake, you can go to a mountain. And we'd be building on all of those places. So ultimately, you can kind of I suppose curate your own journey from that point of view. The personalization element, we have now made that levitation space available to all patients. So we've just taken the Teresa element out of it, as in her avatar out of it, and all patients can use that. What's interesting about that is that normally movement within virtual reality we kind of go against, because people, when you're moving in virtual reality but you're not actually moving in reality, people can get can feel sick, basically, disoriented, because your inner ear, I think, is kind of saying you're moving but you're not moving. Yeah. So they think you're kind of drunk almost. That's one of the theories, is that your body thinks it's ingested something, and hence why you have this this feeling of nausea. But if we move up rather than forward or back, we can still get a kind of a physical reaction trigger. So we started working with that idea of saying, well, actually, can we play around with this? Almost use movement as a dosage and get something that is still going to trigger a positive reaction, but not something that's going to trigger nausea. So that is still applicable to lots of different patients. The basic principle is the same, which is we're overwhelming your brain with this sort of experience. Yes. And there is, at the same time, a kind of a sell-by date, right? That'll work for a period of time.
It's funny because the what you talked about there, about the period of time that you can be within a VR experience without feeling, and the motion that can make you feel sick. When we spoke last week to another episode to Fingal County Council, who were using virtual reality within the libraries, they kind of consulted with different people, including Meta, who have research about how long and how, and some of that side effects, I suppose, sounds like you've counteracted in terms of the movement and people feeling disorientated.
Yeah, the thing about any of that kind of nausea is majority of time it's down to movement, right? So it's down to the content and how the content is designed. So you just shouldn't really move people. When virtual reality first came out, everyone was put on a roller coaster.
Okay.
Which is a dreadful idea, right? Right? But
I hate them anyway. I'd be terrified.
Yeah, exactly. People get ill on roller coasters anyway without a virtual reality headset. It's not terrible, but ultimately you have to recognize that people are going to feel nauseous. So how you design the content is very, very important. The other element is the hardware. The hardware now has eye tracking, and you're able to adjust the eyes to make sure that they actually fit better for the individual. So that's around the headsets. But ultimately, what we're doing with the guys in Croom is using a smartphone VR. So you don't have necessarily, you can adjust a little bit within the eyes, but the most important element really is the content. And in this instance, what we're talking about is going to places of nature and doing voice-led diaphragmatic breathing. And as you breathe in and breathe out, you can see that's visualized for you. And that element alone, I think, is really impactful. Whenever we put a headset on somebody, whether it's a virtual reality headset or a smartphone VR headset, the breathing and seeing the visual of the breathing is always really impactful. And diaphragmatic breathing in itself is already proven to reduce stress and reduce the physiological signs of stress. So we're using a mixture of that, where we're reducing stress by giving patients the tools that they can practice, i.e. the breathing, but also, as Anna Marie said, that idea of placing them somewhere else, taking them out of their environment and putting them in another environment. And we know that places of nature in themselves are always, people have a positive reaction to it, as you can imagine.
So you're kind of layering up, aren't you?
Exactly.
You're layering the experiences. Or you could say, well, look, if I watch TV of somebody going down a river in silence, why doesn't that do it? But that's not enough because you're not as immersed, right?
Oh, absolutely. The immersion is really important and really, really impactful. For anyone that hasn't tried or experienced virtual reality, like the first time you put it on, and that's something we always have to be aware of as well, that when the first time you put on any sort of immersive experience, people are always like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because it's not the same as seeing something on a TV at a distance versus actually I can move my head all the way around. And it's amazing when people take off the headset, everyone's like, oh my God, I'm back in this room. And it's always no matter how many times you do it, you're like, I can't believe it. I've just taken this off and suddenly in a different place. Your brain completely believes it. The reason being is that the way the brain works, the model of the brain versus how virtual reality works are kind of similar, i.e. the brain creates a virtual version of your body within space, and that's how it orientates itself. So virtual reality works in the same way. So it kind of matches that. So therefore it feels very natural.
So, Anna Marie, you were kind of trying to do a couple of things there. One, you said, look, I know virtual reality and what it could achieve, but I need to also be able to scale this and to be able to afford it and possibly be able to dictate a little bit about what the experience is based on my patient's needs. So what happened then? So you decide, I presume you got some support from Spark in terms of funding, and then how do you begin to work together to get the outcome you wanted?
So I put in an application to Spark Impact at the time, which was one of the initiatives that they had launched. And I was able to secure €20,000 in impact funding. And for that, I was able to get 4 MetaQuest 3 headsets. So these are proper virtual reality headsets for the unit itself. Licenses for the headsets for a year. But then I was able to get 400 patient mobile phone mountable headsets as well, with 6-month licenses for each headset.
Is that a completely new innovation? I've never heard of it, but I'm not exactly on top of VR. So, is that new?
It's not unheard of. You had the Google Cardboard a few years ago, but this is a big step forward with it. So it works out that the headset alone will cost maybe €7 per
and you
patient.
Just plop your phone. I'm sure I'm making it sound very basic, but you just plop your phone into this kind of unit, do you? Is that what it is?
You open the front and your mobile phone will go into it. You just literally open the application, click proceed, and straight away it'll start. And it works with this headset. It'll work on kind of eye gaze technology that you look at what you want to open on the menu and you press one button on the bottom of the headset and it'll open. So for people who have very poor manual dexterity, like rheumatoid arthritis, they're easily able to navigate it. I actually had a woman, 98, with very bad rheumatoid arthritis last week. Within 10 seconds of being able to, of showing her this app, she was able to use it no problem. So It's fantastic. I'm really excited to see what we can do with it.
So user experience is really good. I mean, very quick, very fast, very intuitive.
Definitely.
So what's happened so far? How many patients have you got? It's a pilot, I'm guessing you're doing.
Yeah, we're trying to show proof of concept. So I have funding for 400 patients. So we're just waiting for the final delivery of the mobile phone headsets. But I've been using the application on my phone with the headset with patients already out in the unit to see how they get on with it. It's been fantastic. Pain scores are dropping. And it's funny how you mentioned about the environment and temperature. because the therapy I use, it's increased heat. When they go to the lake scene, there's like a blaring sun in it. It feels like it's the heat of the sun that's on their treatment area.
Okay, so they put it into a new context, a bit like a dream.
Exactly. And they're able to tolerate the treatment for much longer. And the patients love it. Absolutely love it, I have to say. And I was surprised. I didn't know it'd take off as much as it did, but it's overcome all the barriers I had with augmented reality. And it's cost effective. It's easily affordable. So I'm hoping that if we can show proof of concept with it, that it can be like available in other hospitals, or we can extend it to other regions, like even intensive care units, people who they're in that hospital environment long term, to give them something to actually get them out of the building.
Yes, because you get so, in a way, institutionalized and forget there's another world out there. And in terms of, age groups, does everybody respond to it? Is there any difference in different kinds of pain or different kind of patients where it doesn't respond? They don't respond as well?
I haven't experienced it yet, to be honest. And it's funny, I find people in the older category are more compliant with it in comparison, because the younger generation, they have access to so many different things and they probably have VR headsets already at home. This mightn't be as novel as the older age group, but the outcome has been similar across the board, because I already audited, we'll say, with regards to the AR, and it was across the board improvement for all patients who tried it. So I'm really hopeful that this will have availability now to every patient that we have. And that will have the exact same response. It'll hopefully reduce the amount of analgesia needed in the community. So patients will have this for 6 months at home that they can use when they need it, as they need it.
Okay. So, because I was going to ask you about the longitude of the relief. So you have a particular context, right, where you're giving them a treatment, it's painful, and I can see, look, this is a really good distractive therapy, if you like, that makes the pain seem less intense and they can forget about it for a while. But then when they take them off and they go back to live their normal life, you could give them the headset, or is there a lasting effect anyway? Do we know yet?
That's what we're not 100% sure of. Okay. That's why the headset in the community will give us great insight into that. Like, it worked for the procedural basis of it, but to get that longevity. So with regards to the mobile phone app, there will be, like, once a month, there'll be questions from a scale that's widely available that will be triggered every month, and we can gauge if there's been a long-term improvement or not based on their responses. And what's great about the app as well is it's completely GDPR compliant. Okay. There's no patient information.
There's big size of relief everywhere.
I know.
In the public sector. Okay.
I was adamant about that. It had to be GDPR compliant. There's no patient data at all exchanged, no patient information exchanged. I'll have the coding system as to who gets what, and they just get a username and password, and all we're looking for is 10 questions answered every month, and it's not patient identifiable either, which is great.
Okay. So are you now convinced this is the area that you want to pursue for your business in terms of where you apply the VR?
Yeah, absolutely. This is our focus. Because everything before this, we were creating virtual reality experiences for pharma companies. They were patient-centric virtual reality experiences, and so a lot of our experience in that area is what's gone into this. So there's been kind of almost a natural path for us. This is our North Star, so to speak. But on the question of longevity, I suppose there's two things to note. One is that ultimately, we were going to wait until we'd built an 8-week CBT course, which we have designed and we are building at the moment, before we actually put this out into patients' hands. But we were speaking to a number of people, and we were kind of saying, well, we have something that works, so why not get it out there now and get people using it? And we understand it's more of a distraction. It's a mixture, as you say, but it's more of the right here, right now. But CBT is proven to be effective in this regard. But the challenge of it is it's only as good as the therapist that might be giving it, or the content that the patient might be receiving. So their ability to understand the content and I suppose learn the various techniques that might be within an 8-week course.
CBT being cognitive behavioral therapy, right?
Cognitive behavioral therapy, exactly. So there has been studies have shown that using CBT for chronic lower back pain within a virtual reality environment, that there is longevity of pain relief at least 6 months after without using a headset.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's at least 6 months. So and it's hopefully it'll continue after that. So what we're now doing is building an 8-week CBT course which uses a VARC modality and Bloom's taxonomy, which simply means that VARC being video, visual, oral, kinesthetic, read, write. So I'm trying to work out what way do you learn best, And Bloom's taxonomy, basically working out what level of cognitive.
So some people learn visually, some people orally,
Exactly.
whatever. So you try and respond to that.
So basically, it's about personalization.
Okay.
So how do we create content that is personalized for the patient themselves in order to, and kind of pairing that with a little bit of AI. So the more they use it, the more we learn about what's working for them. And the idea is that we're using this technology to ultimately make it as effective as possible to get the greatest efficacy for that patient.
And just in terms of the landscape, what's been going on? I mean, I know VR has been talked about in terms of in the healthcare space. Is it getting very advanced? Are there particular places where it's really being adopted? What's going on?
Absolutely, yes. So the NHS now uses it. It's something that you can access for at-home treatment for agoraphobia in the NHS. You can use virtual reality CBT treatment there. Over in France, there's HypnoVR, and they're actually here as well. And that's being used for by there was two I can never say this word, anesthesiologists.
No one can say this word. So we won't say it. We all know what we mean. The people who put you to sleep.
The two guys that knock you
Excellent.
out. And they have built this platform as well. They have over 200,000 patients that have used that in France.
And what particular?
It uses hypnosis and virtual reality instead of
drugs.
Instead of drugs,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So a lot of this is all about saying how can we create something that is going to ensure that people don't or have less of or have no need for reliance on a pharmacological solution.
Which is where the longer term or medium term impacts
Exactly.
might be. So when your patients go home from the treatment, they don't turn necessarily to drugs as the only solution.
Exactly, because there's an opioid obviously epidemic, especially in the US. So, and especially with chronic pain, early intervention with CBT is proven to be more effective, and you're trying to keep people off, pharmacological solution in that instance. But also where there is a pharmacological solution, you can increase the efficacy by using a combination of the two. So, and then over in the US, the FDA have approved virtual reality as a treatment. It's got, it's now got a reimbursement code. So basically, you can claim back on your insurance. All of that is huge movement forward in this area. And the Vets Associations over in the US as well, they have clinics all over the US that now offer virtual reality therapy for different things, PTSD.
Oh, I thought you said vets, as in veterinary.
Okay,
they're way ahead with cats and dogs.
Yeah.
You meant as in...
Well, it has been used to increase yields of milk on cows.
Yes. Okay. So don't laugh.
It wouldn't be surprising.
You didn't mean those vets.
But I didn't mean
veterans.
Veterans, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So there's great opportunity, but was it difficult? Because, people's perceptions is that it's very difficult for innovation and innovative startups to, or maybe even just not necessarily startups, but technologies to really get adopted within the healthcare system. But from what you're saying, I feel like Anna Marie might have been somebody special as a champion. What's involved? What was hard? What was easy?
Well, from our point of view, yeah. I mean, if you start at the top and go to VCs and health insurers and say we have this idea and we this technology and we've tried it and we're using it and they move slowly, very slowly. Whereas so that's why we changed and said, actually, let's reach out to instead of starting up there, let's start actually with the people who are using it, who are actually using it, clinicians and the patients.
Yeah.
Let's make it available to them because they will help us. Well, two things. One, it means that as we design and build what we're doing, it'll be more and more fit for purpose because we're designing and building it with the people that will ultimately benefit and will use it. So that's actually the best place to start. And that will
to
also
get funding, to enable you to do that through Spark.
Exactly. By doing that, then you're creating the demand because you have the people say, this is working, we need it. And creating the demand, then you have a better case for getting funding from various different sources. Because you're saying, we're proving efficacy, we're proving demand, this is worth funding. And so then, in particular, this being able to use Access Spark has been huge from the point of view of being able to move this forward. So absolutely, Anna Marie has been huge, has been really, really important to us because not only are we being able to access that funding to get this happening, but you have somebody who embraces innovation, who understands the benefits of it, and can get it into the institution and to the patients. And once we prove efficacy, all the other elements becomes almost sidelines. You have to do this and you have to do that, but we will do this and that because we know it works. Whereas sometimes if you go the other way, it's like, no, you got to jump through this hoop and this hoop and this hoop before you even get it into patients' hands.
I think it
And
sounds
that's
like
what kills it.
Anne Marie knew the hoops
Yes, I would say
and
so.
said, okay, look, we're never going to get anywhere unless we get the GDPR issue. I'm just taking one out of the air, but unless we get that sorted.
Absolutely.
So it has to also be somebody who's there working alongside you, navigating.
Yeah, because you tell us what, like I say at the beginning, we solve problems, but we need to know what the problems are in the first place. Otherwise, we'll try and solve all the problems at the same time. So having somebody like Anne Marie to guide us and say, well, this problem here is the one you need to solve. And if you solve that, then we can do this. Then we can focus all our experience and be able to do that, That moves things forward.
Okay. I can't believe we've actually getting close to the end of the podcast because it's been fascinating. But from your experience, what do you kind of think, either of you and both of you, the future in terms of healthcare is going to be in terms of use of AI, technology, VR? Are there particular things that you think are coming down the track?
Well, with this launch care, you can see that the main vision is to have like hospital care at home. So I think things like this are ideal means of actually achieving that. Like things like biosensors, there's so many things coming out now to help actually achieve that. But there are a lot of barriers still at the moment. There is a little bit of, like with the cyber attack, there's a lot of sensitivity there yet with regards to digital technology. So it's really about finding means of overcoming those fears. And it really is having like a strong team with you. Like I'm very fortunate with the team that I have, like Professor Dominic Harmon and the team I have, they completely believe in the future vision of healthcare and they embrace it. And like management as well, they can see the potential benefits of embracing that kind of a digital culture. So it's about being in the right place at the right time and being kind of the spokesperson for it. And that's how it will eventually start to roll out, I think, definitely.
And do you have mechanisms that you can share with your colleagues in other areas around the country, what you're learning through this experience, or how does that happen?
It's about how, I think, really...
Well, obviously a podcast is going to do that for us. I forgot. Sorry, Transform Gum, that's our job. But beyond that, apart from us.
I think the biggest thing is have confidence in the idea you have and finding somebody to believe in you. If you have one person that will believe in you, in what you envision for what you want to do, then you're away with it. Because it's then about the strategic networking, meeting somebody who knows somebody. That's how you get things across the line. And then someone else will get it and someone else will take it on board and you change healthcare as it is. So definitely it's about aligning yourself with the right team. And that's where I'm lucky.
Very good. Really, really good. And what about you? What do you see, Neil, coming down the track?
Well, I just think the technology that is now coming down the line is incredibly powerful. And there's no doubt that it has the ability to transform healthcare for patients in the sense that it can be something that is at home. It can be something that empowers the patient to take control of their own health. It empowers a patient to be proactive. So taking all that data, giving it to the patient, giving them the tools that will allow them to self-monitor, to self-guide, to work at home, to be proactive, all those things. The technology is just amazing at the moment. With that, as we all know, with AI and all of these things that are the hot topics at the moment, is of course data and how we secure the data. Exactly as you've kind of been saying, how do we secure the data? How do we make sure that people who are vulnerable are kept safe from point of view of the digital trail that they're leaving, but how they use these tools as well. Legislation, all those sorts of things have to happen. So I think from point of view of what the possibilities are now for technology and how that will really improve patients' lives and take the burden off the health systems, all that, we're at the beginning of a new era, absolutely the beginning of a new age, and it's incredibly exciting because of that. And so we want to meet all, when we meet Anne Marie, we meet other champions in all these healthcare systems. We try and link people together and we try and build out this coalition of the willing, coalition of people go, we know there are challenges, but that's not going to stop us. Let's move forward and let's overcome them. Because the vision, what you can do, how we could transform healthcare is huge. But of course, we have to recognize that there are other challenges as well. We can't let those other challenges get in the way. We have to be proactive and go, okay, what are the challenges from point of view of, keeping people safe, from point of view of legislation, point of view of data. But for example,
the really good stuff is that people being able to be at home is hugely positive.
Absolutely.
Not just because there's less of a burden on the system, but because it actually helps people get better quickly.
There's 11,000 people.
I mean, that could be massive. Just
11,000 people alone with chronic lower back pain that have been waiting a year just to be seen. And something like this, you can send them a plastic headset, they put their phone in, they get access to it, could give them relief, could take some of those people off the waiting list potentially, or certainly give them some relief while they're waiting, you know. So there's no doubt, you know, there's a huge opportunity here. We need people to step up, be brave, and you know, you start seeing the benefits very, very quickly. And just to say that idea of, you know, as we mentioned earlier on, the concern about GDPR, you know, we overcame that.
Mm-hmm.
We overcame it quite quickly.
Yes.
You know, we were able to do that. There are ways to do it, you know. So you can't let those concerns, you can't let them, you bring them to the table and let's see how we can fix them.
Work the way through them.
Yeah.
And listen, if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, talk to you about it, are you willing to share your experiences, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, they can contact me on my work email, no problem.
Okay.
If you want me to give it out.
If you're happy to.
Yeah, it's no problem. So it's Anna, ANNA, M for Monday, .Kiernan, KIERNAN @HSE.ie. Anybody I'm willing to support with regards to getting a project like this off the ground, because I see the value. I see the value in the patients and I see the long-term benefits. So I have no problem supporting anybody.
That's great. Spreading the news.
And you can reach us through shine-vr.com.
Very good.
And there's we have patients that contact us and clinicians, and everybody contacts us through that. There's also resources there from point of view of studies, clinical trials and studies and all that. There are papers there that you can access. There's some video content. So it's a little hub to get people started if they want to learn more, if they want to contact us.
And you can also see that program, can't you? On the RT player.
I think it's still available.
No, I saw it today.
Okay,
so
then it
it's
is.
still there. So it's still there. That's excellent. Well, look, fascinating. And I know we're only touching the tip of the iceberg in this, but it's really a fascinating area. And it's great to see that a project, you know, that is very innovative could get into the HSE through you and then start to help patients so quickly. We'd love to hear what happens when you finish the pilot. So keep us informed. And all I've got to do now is say thank you very much to both of you for being here. So thank you for being on TransformGov. So Anna Marie Kiernan from the HSE and Niall O'Driscoll of ShineVR, thank you so much. If anyone wants to learn more, you can obviously contact them. But I've also got to thank our team here. So producer Conal Moran, studio manager Peter Rice, video editor Neil Horner, sound engineer and videographer Lee Brennan. And finally, thank you to South Dublin Podcast Studios.